If any of these reasons that I'm mentioning today in this video kind of hits home for you, I'd be thinking twice about buying a home this year. To buy or not to buy? That is the question. Should you buy a house in 2022? I'm going to give you 10 reasons why you shouldn't. And if you can relate to any of these reasons, you may not be wanting to buy a house this year. All right, so let's get into it. Let's get started. Okay, we all know how crazy this market is, so are you surprised I'm saying this, that you shouldn't buy? But look, I have other reasons here I'm gonna go over with you why you shouldn't be buying. And again, if any of these reasons that I'm mentioning today in this video kind of hits home for you, I'd be thinking twice about buying a home this year. So let's get into this. Number one, the first reason why you shouldn't be buying a home, if you have a low credit score. There are some loan programs out there that will accept a 580 credit score.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, although most lenders these days would prefer a 620 to a 640 credit score, the problem with that is the lower your credit score, the higher the interest rate. So you're going to be paying through the nose on interest on your mortgage. So I would think about cleaning up that credit and improving that credit score so you can get a better interest rate. And if it takes you several months, it takes you several months. Believe me, you don't want to be paying a really high interest rate because of your credit. Number two, you have a lot of debt. So if you have a lot of student loans, you have car payments, you have a lot of credit card debt, and you think, oh, I'm going to go buy a house, and now you're tacking a house payment on top of that, that is a recipe for disaster, and you're just going to be strapped like beyond all means, and it's going to be tough to survive. So clean up all of that debt. Pay off as much as you can of your student loans, the car, the credit card. Just get rid of it all before you even think about going for that mortgage. Number three, something else to consider, and this is all finance related. 30% or more of your monthly income will be going towards your house payment. So your mortgage payment is going to be the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. You don't want 30% of your income to just pay for that. You have to remember, you're not renting anymore. So you don't get to call the landlord to come and fix things in the apartment or the house, wherever you're living, to come repair stuff for you. It doesn't work that way. Now you're responsible for that. And owning a house, it's expensive. You have to prepare for all of these things that could go wrong. Now you got to buy things for the house. You have to buy furniture, a lawnmower, maybe a snow blower. So you have to take all these things into account. Again, you don't want 30% of your income just going to the mortgage. You got to have some extra left behind each month to pay for other things in the house. Number four, continuing with the whole financial thing, you don't have an emergency fund set up. Look, when you move into a house, you need to have money in the bank to be prepared if anything goes wrong. This is going back to what I was just saying before. Things happen. If you get a leak, if you have a plumbing issue, you got to have money set aside to be ready to cover those expenses. So rule of thumb is you should have 3 months of your salary in a savings account for your emergency fund. I know that's kind of a lot, but have a decent amount in there just to cover any emergencies that may come up.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Believe me, it'll just save you the headache. You won't be stressing about money. And if you don't have money saved up right now for that, you shouldn't be buying a house. The fifth reason why you shouldn't buy a house this year, you don't have enough money saved to put down on a house. Look, a few years ago, people were able to get a mortgage where you can put as little as 3.5% down. There are some programs like a VA loan where you don't have to put any money down. It's 0% down. Today's market, that's not gonna fly. You're gonna need, I hate to say it, 20% in this New Jersey market.
What?
You really are. Some sellers have accepted below 20% down, but for the most part, putting 20% down also reassures them if the appraisal comes under the asking price, you have that cushion there. They're putting 20% down. So my advice, if you're going to be buying a house, I'd be socking away as much money as you can to have that 20%. Number six, another reason why you shouldn't be buying a house is if you don't have enough cash to cover the closing costs. People forget about this a lot. They think they just need the 20% down. Oh, no. You have to pay closing costs to the bank and the title company. It's a lot. It could be as high as $10,000 to $12,000. It's a lot of money. So on top of that down payment, you got to have money set aside to cover your closing costs. You know, back in the day, we were able to ask for a seller's concession concession where the seller would help pay towards the closing costs. Not in this market. Can't do it anymore because it's so competitive. So make sure you have enough money set aside. And if you want to know how much closing costs would be, contact your lender who you'd be working with and just get a rough estimate of what that amount will be. The seventh reason why you shouldn't be buying a house in 2022, if you're planning on moving within the next 5 years. Look, when you buy a house, you plan on living there for a while because you're going to want to build some equity up because it is expensive. When you sell your house too, you're going to have to pay some costs. So you want to build some equity so you can make some money on it and, you know, walk away with some cash in your pocket after you pay off those closing costs. So if you're planning on moving or you're not really sure where you're going to be in the next 5 years, don't buy a house. The eighth reason you should not be buying a house this year is if you have some big expenses coming up in the next couple of years. Are you getting married? Are you planning for a wedding? We know how expensive those can be. Are you going to be taking a big trip in the next year or so? Are you planning on going back to school to get your degree? This may not be the time for you to buy a house because if you buy a house now and you know you have these other expenses coming up that are pretty big, you're going to be strapped financially, and believe me, it's not worth it. So I would hold off. I would not be buying a house this year if you have big expenses coming up in the next couple of years. The ninth reason, if your job is not too stable right now, obviously don't be thinking about buying a house. Or if you're thinking about changing jobs in the next year, don't do it. Don't buy a house. It's not the time for you, especially if there's instability in your job. You don't know what's going to happen. And look, it can happen if you don't even sense there's instability. I mean, that happened to me and my husband. When we bought our house and we moved to Jersey, 2 months after we moved in, he lost his job. And we didn't see it coming. We totally didn't see it coming. Fortunately, he did get something after about 30 days or so. He did find another job, but holy cow, that was really scary. So if you sense there's some instability or if you're planning on making a career change, hold off. Don't buy a house this year. The 10th reason why you should not be buying a house this year is home prices are going to be remaining high until the end of the year. I know, you're sick of me saying this. I'm sick of talking about it. Trust me.
You're goddamn right.
But on the other hand, I don't think the market's going to crash, guys. How many times have I said this over the last 2 years? It's going to calm down. The balloon is going to deflate for sure. As these interest rates rise, it's going to bring the prices back down. Not crashing, let's hope. You never know what can happen. But if you're concerned about these higher prices, I would wait it out. Don't buy this year. Wait for the market to calm down a little bit. And in 2023, experts are predicting that they'll calm down even more and prices should become more stable. So that's another reason why I would not buy this year. If the high prices are a concern for you, sit this one out. Don't buy just yet. Hey, if you liked what you saw today, do me a favor, watch this video over here. I think you're really gonna like it. Thank you so much for watching me today. I am Jackie Baker with Coldwell Banker Realty, and I will see you next time.